So today in Blood Science we're going to answer some of your questions and we're going to start with a fantastic question from Edwin, aged 8, from McGee class in Hillcroft School. And his question for Dr. Matthew Edwards, who is our medical expert, is how tiny are plasma, that's what it says here, how tiny is plasma and how does it get through scabs?
I'm wondering, did Edwin play the blood game by any chance?
He definitely did. So actually that was your suggestion in the first place, was that we make Hollywood-style fake blood in our workshops. And we wanted a game to do before it. So we came up with a fantastic game, which we liaised with each other, where they were in the circulation, the blood circulation, and then we made a hole, which was someone getting a cut, and then the blood started pouring through the cut, and we talked about plasma in that. So that's where his question came from. So maybe you could explain a little bit more about it.
Okay, so blood, when you cut yourself, it looks like a liquid. It all looks like one red liquid. Whereas in fact, if you look at it under a microscope or even an electron microscope, you see that it's made of lots and lots of different things. Some of which are liquid, water basically, but many of which are cells, which are relatively speaking very large.
Yeah.
So the red blood cells, the white blood cells, they are big compared to the other constituents of the blood.
Yeah.
There's also then proteins, which are much, much smaller. The cells are made out of millions of proteins, for example, and these proteins would be things like fibrin, which then link together to form the mesh or the web that goes over the scab.
Okay.
Now the plasma is the sort of yellow stuff that squeezes through your scab and goes on your plaster, and that is basically water, and that's how come it can squeeze through the holes in between the fibrin network.
So it's just they're smaller molecules basically.
Absolutely, they're molecules rather than the cells.
Yeah.
Water is 3 atoms stuck together. It will also have things like sodium and potassium in it and oxygen, but all these are teeny tiny compared to the meshwork made by the fibrin and the cells.
Okay, so the fibrin makes a mesh when you cut yourself, and that's what then stops all the blood rushing out. But the plasma can still manage to seep through. If
you imagine pouring, I don't know, say you've got a saucepan full of peas and you pour it through a
like
colander
a sieve or a colander, yeah.
And the peas will stick there and stick in there. If you think of that as the colander as the fibrin network, the peas as the cells, and the water that pours through is the plasma.
Fantastic, what a brilliant explanation, I can absolutely picture that. Essentially, so the plasma, when it goes through the scab, is actually helping to kind of clean the wound as well.
It is.
So basically everything there has its own role to play.
Its own purpose.
It kind of makes you realise the body's just quite an incredible thing, really.
It is. It's years of evolution. Obviously, if the scab didn't form, first time you cut yourself, you'd bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed, and that would be the end of you. So it wouldn't last very long at all.
Oh, it wouldn't at all. Fantastic. Thank you very much.